one of our main complaints that we had for the well, we had one person complain actually.
Very vocal.
So a very vocal one person who commented in a couple of different places was our audio quality, which we've this is only our 4th podcast, so we're doing what we can to improve the audio quality. So now we have omnidirectional lav mic. We have our special guest today, lav mic, and for the live broadcast, we have a shotgun mic all hooked up for the live broadcast as well. So we should be good to go with our audio issues. Hopefully everything looks good. If you hang on to that 1 second.
Roger that.
Introduce yourselves, everyone.
Fly me to the moon.
I'm Tyler Martinolich, the programming director. I was on the last podcast, if you guys remember. And Miller High Life is not a sponsor, but we hope they will be this year. So that's why I'm drinking at 10:30 in the morning on a Sunday. So
Yeah, that's why.
I'll pass it off to the responsible person here who's not drinking.
Everybody knows me.
Yes. Here, of course, I'll introduce him since he won't introduce himself. But this is Superhero, featured in Rolling Stone magazine, also featured on the Emmy-nominated HBO documentary Superheroes. I'm Tony Armour, the executive director and co-founder of the Sunscreen Film Festival, and our special guest today is filmmaker, Tampa resident, and author Paul Guzzo.
Thank you for having me.
Paul, thanks for being here. All right, so first order of business is kind of let everybody know what's going on with the film festival coming up. September 21st to the 23rd, we have a workshop with Chris Wyatt. Chris is the producer of Napoleon Dynamite. He is a writer on the Avengers animated series on Disney XD, and also a writer on the Ultimate Spider-Man animated series on Disney XD. He's going to be doing a 3-day workshop, September 21st to the 23rd. Downtown St. Petersburg at the Studio 620. We are charging $299 for it, but if you use the special discount code SSFF12, you can get it for $100. So $100 for 3 days for a workshop with Chris Wyatt. Should be really good. The festival itself, April 18th to the 21st, 2013, and we'll be opening submissions right about September 1st for the film festival as well. So, and for some reason, I am inordinately sweating today as I've been running around getting stuff going. So, if I could ask Brad to bring me a paper towel, we're not too proud here to have a makeup person come in and provide me something to dampen myself. But first, let's move on and introduce Paul. And Paul is here to talk about his new film and some of the books and stuff that he's been writing lately. Paul, why don't you start out and introduce the film that played actually at Sunscreen this year and is going to be screening coming up pretty soon, and tell us a little bit about it.
Okay, it's called Who is Delsin? It is showing Friday, September 7th at 8 p.m. over at Movie Co. Gasparilla Film Festival is putting it on, so if you're interested in getting tickets, visit Gasparilla Film Festival's website, which I'm guessing is gasparillafilmfestival.com, but just Google it and you should be able to find it.
Yeah, I think it's actually like GIF, GIFF.com, something like that. You'll be able to find it. Gasparilla is spelled GASPARILLA, right?
Yeah. So the movie's called Who is Delsin, and it is a mockumentary, but it's not a comedic mockumentary. It's almost what we tried to do a kind of Ancient Aliens type documentary / found footage film. And it's about a reporter who, during the first Gulf War, gets kidnapped by insurgents and is being tortured. And when he is saved, he swears it was not the U.S. military that saved him, but it was an actual real-life superhero. Everybody says he is crazy, and so he goes on a multi-year search to prove that this superhero does exist, and his search ends up ending in insanity and in murder, where he walks into a museum and starts gunning people down. And so the film is basically me and my brother pretending to do a real documentary about what drove this guy crazy and whether or not the superhero that he swears saved him could really exist. And it's kind of weird now to be screening it again with everything just happened with a superhero movie and people being gunned down. So it was.
This was the best superhero film I saw all year long. Avengers didn't beat it. We talked about how they beat Spider-Man to death and everything like that. real life superhero fully endorses the film about the real life superhero. This was, if you guys want to go, where is it? Movie Co?
At Movie Co in Ybor.
At what time? What day?
8 p.m. September 7th.
8 p.m. I'll be there too. 8 p.m. September 7th. Come out and see the best superhero movie you saw all year. I enjoyed it so much. I made you a present.
And that present is not a half gallon of Edie's ice cream, I'm assuming.
No,
Godzilla flavored from the look. What exactly, before we move on real quick, what exactly does
Godzilla the movie, which would be
98. 98.
But
he usually keeps well.
Yeah, what does Godzilla flavor taste like?
Chicken, my guess. Yeah, that'd be.
Rodan tastes like bacon.
Yeah. But anyways, I make custom action figures. And
let's open that up. Let's see what we got here. We have in the Godzilla ice cream
I made you a figure of Delsin.
A Delsin.
That is actually unbelievable.
If you want to hold it between Tony and Superhero, I'll zoom in on it.
So I have to show that to my brother.
Yeah, like you're holding the product.
Yeah, closer to Dale.
That's where you
Closer
guys.
to
I need to take a picture of that.
Why don't we do this? Why don't we do this?
Emilio, who played Emilio.
That man is awesome. You could not have gotten. I want to know more about Emilio. Tell me about, because he walked into the theater. Mm-hmm. I've met a lot of my real life superhero role models. Adam West. I've met Gil Gerard. I've met Billy D. I've met all these guys that were, and this guy walked into the theater and he just had presence.
Emilio, Mr. Hollywood. That's
where did he come from? I mean, he had presence. He was the perfect guy to play the superhero in that film.
We met him just by chance. A few years ago, my brother and I went out to LA for a few days for casting for another movie we were doing, and one of the actresses we were meeting with, it was Maria Conchita Alonso, which if you watch movies in the 80s, she was, so we met with her, and she liked the script. She's like, but I just want to make sure if I'm going to do it, she liked my brother's directing real. She liked our DP. She's like, I just need to make sure there's other good actors in it before I do this, because it's an independent film. She said, I got this friend Emilio who'd be great for the role of the boxer in this movie. I said, okay. So we went, had coffee with him, hit it off. That movie fell through. We were never able to really get it off the ground. A few years later, we shot our MMA film, Cage Dreams, and we needed somebody to kind of play like a badass gangster in it. And we thought, oh God, that guy Emilio would be perfect for it. So we called him up. He's like, yeah. We sent him a script. He loved it. Came out here and did it. And we kind of got a good relationship with him. So when we were doing this, Emilio, in Who is Delsin, plays the person who the reporter believes is this real-life superhero. We needed him to be realistic, that he could be somebody who has lived for tens of thousands of years. Right. Emilio speaks multiple languages, Spanish, French, Hebrew, and so we thought, boy, that is perfect. So
what nationality is he?
He is Israeli, and I believe I'm sorry, I cannot remember what the other half is, but it's some Latin culture.
Yeah, but, he's so stoic. I mean, I met William Shatner a couple of years ago, and I was in line to meet him with a bunch of guys dressed up as Borg cubes and stuff like that, and they were all going back and forth. And when
that's the Borg language.
Yeah. When Shatner walks in, everything just goes. Boom. Everyone just goes. Boom. I'm ex-Navy too, so it was kind of like captains on the bridge, boom, everybody just shuts up, that kind of thing, and that's kind of the air this guy, Emilio, has to him.
Like I said, we call him Mr. Hollywood. He walks in the room and you think, oh, this guy's going to be a star someday. So we're hoping he turns out to be a huge star. We're hoping, our film helps.
Yeah.
Well, that is awesome. That is awesome. So, tell us a little bit about how did the idea, what's the genesis for this story, basically?
About 10 years ago, our friend Hank, who at the time was a business partner with my brother, was toying around this new type of animation. It's not new, but he was trying to learn, where he was just taking comic book panels and animating the background, kind of like Japanimation. And he said, Paul, do you think you could write a type of Japanimation film, and maybe I could figure this out, we can do it. I mean, obviously it would take years. It's like, sure. So I came up with this outrageous storyline that starts 80 billion years ago and ends 80 billion years from now, and it's just spans heaven and hell about this man who was part of the original race in the universe, and he can live forever, and because he can live forever, becomes godlike and goes to war with God and invades heaven, and it was absolutely outrageous. It was a good plot, but it was outrageous in that when I showed it to them, they said, "Oh, what planet could we fund this freaking thing?" Like Michael Bay couldn't get the money to make this thing. It's just crazy. I'm like, I know. I just sat down, started writing it, and I kind of got caught up in it. So it just collected dust. Then a few years ago, we did the 48-hour film fest, and we pulled mockumentary, and we thought, what the heck are we going to do with this? It's like, man, I got this great line of dialogue from, we never named that film, but from that animated film I wrote years ago. There was this great block of dialogue. I could kind of transform it, and it could be this guy who can't die in modern times, kind of lamenting, kind of like a Highlander type thing, about why this stinks. He's like, well, it's got to be a mockumentary, so we got to figure out a way to make it look like a documentary. I was like, all right, well, this reporter finds him, finally sits down and gets the interview. So we did that film. It's called Perpetual Life. You can YouTube it and watch it.
Perpetual Life.
Yeah, Perpetual Life. So we did it for a 40-hour film fest, and when we got done, everybody, we worked on it with, which always happened to make a short film. I said, do you think we can make this a feature? And Pete's like, actually, Paul already kind of wrote the feature, but there's no way we could afford it. But it's like, if we do it almost like we did this one, where it's about the guy in modern times, and we don't show too much of the crazy CG story you would need, it could work. And so I reworked it. So basically, Who is Delsin is 3 pages that I turned into, 3 pages from my original script that I turned into this film. So we wrote it, and then
That's a lot of filler.
oh, it was. But
Yeah.
the way we shot it was crazy. Like, we would send chunks of what I wrote to the people who were in it, like who were doing like the Talking Heads documentary, like telling the story thing. And we said, just take this now, make it your own. Just make sure you get the facts right, but you don't read it word for word. We want you to kind of come up with your own version of what I wrote. And we sent like each block of the script to probably 12 people, and then we, pulled what we wanted, and the film came together. It was a crazy way to make a film. And we did this. The crew was basically, it was my brother, and it was Brian Burke. That was the crew. I mean, when we do bigger days, we'd bring other people in here and there. When we did the museum scene where we were shooting people up, and a ton of extras. We had ADs on set, and we had other producers. But for the most part, it was Pete and Brian doing the whole thing.
Yeah. Well, and very much in the spirit then of independent filmmaking and going out there and doing your own thing. Very similar to a lot of what you hear nowadays as far as independent filmmaking goes. The Polish Brothers and what they did with for Lovers Only, and a lot of kind of the Ed Burns style.
It was the most independent thing we've done. It's crazy because if you see our last film, Cage Dreams, which was a short. I mean, that thing was a big production for us. I mean, we turned a warehouse into an MMA ring. We had hundreds of extras, 5 reds, multiple cranes on set. We did that up. We had investors, and we really blew our wad on that one. That was a huge production for a short film. And then when we wanted to do another film, we just couldn't
go back to that well.
We couldn't go back to that well after just going to. So we had to come up with an idea where it took no money, so it took us 1.5 to 2 years to finish that film, because we would shoot for a few weeks and then take a few months off and shoot for a few weeks. It took a while.
And in between there, I assume you were editing while.
Yeah.
Yeah. And who was editing?
I'm gonna get in trouble for.
But somebody was editing in between.
Yeah,
You shoot for a few weeks, take a couple months off, and while somebody was editing that, you could kind of go back, take a look, see what does it look like so far, and did the scripts change then through that 1.5 to 2 year long process? Because you'd be able to see what works and what doesn't work, and if you needed to change things.
What changed was in the final edit. We didn't change the story because the story was so intricate that if an actor changed, that's what we said, like, make it your own, but you cannot change the facts. So one little factual change would have blown everything out of the water. When you see it, you'll realize that. Like, it's a real intricate story where one little thing will. I know it's crazy to say, hey, a film about a superhero would make it unbelievable, but we try to make it as believable as possible. What changed was the first edit of the film was about 3 hours. And we thought, oh, wow. So we cut an entire, maybe 2 storylines out of the film. So maybe one day,
On the DVD?
Yeah, we can put those storylines back in. But, director's cuts, there's a reason they're not the original cuts.
Yes.
I've seen the director's cut of Apocalypse Now and remember being so excited. The director's cut, I'm going to see it. It's going to be 5 hours long. And then I sat through a 40-minute conversation with the French people in some house in the trees, and I thought, well, this is why they cut this
Now,
crap
you see,
out.
this is what Kevin Smith said. Kevin Smith said director's cuts are BS anyway. When you see the one in the theater, you are seeing the director's cut because they have sat down, they've been through test screenings and everything else, and they have said, this is what doesn't plod. This is what rock and rolls. This is what moves along steadily.
Yeah.
Weird Al says that in the UHF extra features too. The director's cut. Get that out of the garbage can and splice it in.
Right.
Then and that's how they make a director's cut and get you to spend another $25 for another DVD.
The stuff we cut, I agree. I don't know if we should ever go back in. If I have one fault as a writer, I'm sure I have multiple faults. But one of my faults is I try to over-explain everything. And I don't really mean so much in script, but I also write for magazines and newspapers and do some books. So I always over-explain things. And in a book, that's okay. You can over-explain things. You can put notes up. But in a script, not so good. And because we were trying to make this as believable as possible, I really went to sometimes great pains to over-explain, well, this is why this could be possible. And so some of the stuff, we had cut out. For instance, the part where we say the superhero at one point could heal people with his hands. And somebody's like, well, that's impossible. So we go into a 10-minute discussion in it about esoteric healing, which are people who believe that you can heal.
Right.
You know what? That's
Just
not
do what
needed.
Captain Marvel does.
Not needed.
Magic, bitches.
And that's what it is.
Like every few years they come up with, like back in the day, Superman jumped over buildings and this kind of thing. Yeah. You just have to say magic, bitches.
And that's what it
because
was.
They said, well, then Superman would need a propulsion source in order to do that. No. So then they said, well, it's his science advanced. They said, well, it's his aura. He can fly because of his aura. Captain Marvel just says magic, bitches.
But
that's all you need is magic. You explain and you move on.
The nice thing in science fiction I can see coming up now is that magic bitches, people are just going to say, Higgs boson, bitches.
Yeah, God particle, bitches. Yeah.
Higgs boson. Nobody knows what Higgs boson really is.
What the hell is
so they're just going to be like, Higgs boson. It sounds scientific. That sounds good. Let's do it.
I've heard you stand in that thing and they fire it. It turns you into Dr. Manhattan.
Find out.
Yeah. I tried that.
So it sounds like, from what Superhero Hero says, the best superhero movie he's seen this year, which is quite high praise considering this is the year with Avengers and the new Batman film. So
I wanted to know more about the animation because you said the animation. The guy was working with the animation years ago, but what it reminded me of is the animation in the film I was just in on HBO, which was cutting edge. I mean, that was done by a company called Titmouse that also makes cartoons for Adult Swim. And your animation was on par with that.
And it wasn't possible to do. It was possible to do in a very small dose, but we just, even when I wrote the script, even if I simplified it, we tried, and we just came to the conclusion 10 years ago that at this point, this isn't something we're capable of doing. This was 10 years ago. We were not,
because it looks on par. I mean, it's right there with the stuff that was done by a professional company for modern animation. That's when you said it was 10 years, I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, we weren't able to do it.
Yeah, it'll blow your mind. When you see it, it'll blow your mind. When's it going to be again?
September 7th at 8 p.m. over at Movie Co. And there'll be, before that, we're also going to premiere our new short that we did with Shanti Productions. Gentleman Mike Shanti came to us to do a children's film. So we did a children's short, which is completely out of the realm for my brother and I, if you've seen our past film, called Childish Dreams, the Childish Dream Chronicles. And it's a children's film about a brother and sister sibling rivalry. He's always getting into her stuff and breaking it. She meets a mysterious character who has a way for her to prevent her brother from ever getting into her stuff again. And of course, with any children's movie, it doesn't work out, and everybody learns a lesson in the end. But it's kind of a dark children's movie. The idea is to almost bring back a kind of what was the Spielberg series back in the day, where amazing stories type feel.
Yeah.
So this is the first one we're hoping people like, and we do more. It was interesting doing a children's film because we haven't done one of those before. Right. So we're going to premiere that before Who is Delsin. It'll be actually.
Brian Burke also shot that one too.
He DP'd that, and it's gorgeous looking.
So September 7th, Movie Co. Theaters, Ybor City, Tampa.
Yes.
We need to clarify that since people may be watching.
There's a lot of movie codes.
Yeah, Movie Co. Theaters, Ybor City, Tampa, September 7th. 7 p.m.
Well, the movie starts at 8, meet and greet with the filmmakers and new cast and crew at 7 p.m.
Good. Well, we are the Sunscreen Film Festival, and even though that is the other film festival on the other side of town, Gasparilla, doing that, we'll all be there anyways because as things go, we support local filmmakers and Florida filmmakers. So just want to throw that out there.
And I think Perpetual Life is actually on Vimeo, so if you do a search or search under Brian Burke, you can find it on there.
Brian Burke spelled, how's his last name spelled?
Bourke.
Bourke.
Yeah, that was the short that Paul mentioned that he based this one off.
The film has a Facebook page as well. It makes it easier for you to find it that way.
Yeah, and if you Google Who is Delsin, you can see the 2 trailers for the films as well.
Good. So what's next for Who is Delsin? Distribution. Obviously you'd like to get some sort of distribution.
We just signed with Circus Road, which are our reps.
Producer reps or sales agents in Los Angeles?
The sales agents.
Sales agents in Los Angeles.
So we just signed with them. So now it's in their hands.
Sure.
They seem confident they can do something with it. So.
Well, it's a genre film. Genre films travel well, and as everybody knows, that nowadays it's all about the international marketplace.
Yeah.
What can you do internationally with this film? And being a genre film, if
especially since you've got a star that's quad lingual,
yeah.
He can push it over. Yeah, that's.
We decided to do this actually right after we did Perpetual Life. I remember we had lunch with Curtis Graham one day.
Curtis Graham's a local cinematographer, director of photography.
Yeah, and I don't know Curtis too well. We've met a handful of times, but him and my brother know each other very well. And he just said in passing, he's like, I think the secret to making a successful independent film is making one that's under $50,000 and finding your niche.
Yeah.
He's like, that way you'll make your money back and you have your niche market. When people just do romances, when people just do crime, it's too broad. If you're going to do independent film, you need to find your particular niche. He's like, that's why people do horror film, because that is a niche. Like, you just need to find a niche. My brother and I were not horror filmmakers. I couldn't begin to even come up with a script or something like that. And that's when we said, boy, we'll do the Perpetual Life as a feature and superhero comic book. That'll be our niche, Comic-Cons, things like that, So you find your niche and you make a film. So we're hoping, and Curtis didn't tell us this as advice at the time, he said it in passing and it kind of
struck with you.
Struck a nerve with me, so I'm hoping his advice works out.
Good. Well, AFM, which is the American Film Market, is coming up in November, just a couple of months away. So I'm assuming that your sales agents will have it there and see what happens. And then, following up from that, you've got Berlin in February, Cannes in May. So
and we'll do the film festival.
You do the film, and then all in between there, do the film festival circuit. So
does it still? Is it an unrealistic dream to tell your filmmakers out here, or does it still happen where you show a film at a festival and somebody walks up and says, "You're made. I'll write you a check right now. The check's a contract."
Not so much.
That doesn't happen.
It depends
anymore.
what festival. Depends what festival.
Yeah. We asked our reps about that, and their advice was don't overexpose it in film fests. Which is, I guess, something me and my brother didn't know years ago. We used to just enter every film fest under the sun and be like, hey, we showed in 900 film fests this year, and we still haven't gotten distribution for this one.
He shot one a couple of years ago called Running with Demons, which is excellent. Mm-hmm. And I was face to face with the woman that handles all the documentaries for HBO. When I went out there for the premiere of the one I was in, and I got this guy, here's his number, here's how many fillings are in his teeth, call him tomorrow, this thing's already wet in the can, buy it. And she was, blah, 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 but it never materialized.
Well, actually, Running with Demons is, we're sort of, I'll give ourselves a little plug right now. We're out on the film festival circuit with Running with Demons right now. We won a Best Documentary Award at a film festival in the UK, and we're playing the Ojai Film Festival coming up October 26th in Ojai is a community just outside Los Angeles. And actually did get it to the VP of documentary programming at HBO, and they did watch it, and they did tell us that it was a good film and they enjoyed it, but it just doesn't fit HBO and what they're doing. And that's just a lot of times the way it works.
When we did the Charlie Wall documentary, we talked with the Bio Channel who's doing the Mafia series.
Yeah.
We sent it to them. They sent us an email, saying, look, we really enjoyed it, but we do all of our in a certain style.
Yeah.
The dark room behind them. The narrations are always written with the same type of tone. And they said, so while we like it, we couldn't use it for our series because every single one we do by the book. Very uniform.
Yeah.
Not uniform as in boring, but they have their style.
They have a formula.
Yeah, and you can't deviate. We're like, okay, we get it,
Just like Sci-Fi Channel has a formula for their films, I believe their formula here.
Mansquito.
Here's
versus superhero.
Here's their formula.
Mansquito.
I can't remember the exact 100% formula, but the formula has something to do with you got to have a creature, you got to have
Dean Cain.
a girl, you got to have a guy.
Yeah, Dean Cain.
1 hour into the film, you have to repeat what the plot of the entire film is for all the people that are changing channels and just getting to the movie at this point. And so those are little things that there was actually a panel, and one of the writers who had written several sci-fi original movies kind of revealed all these things, and I can't remember specifically what they are, but they're little things like that.
You must have a role for Parker Lewis somewhere in the film.
You just made me think. Their Man-Thing movie was nothing like Man-Thing, but it followed the formula that you were just talking about.
Right.
It was nothing like when you lie, you burn, and all. It was nothing like the comic whatsoever. But it was following the formula that he just talked about. So yeah, he's right there.
I don't know if they still have it, but you used to be able to go on Sci-Fi Channel. I think actually it's probably still there, and it was almost like a roulette wheel. Not roulette wheel, slot machine wheel, right?
Okay.
Where you could pull it like a flash game, and it would come up with like 3 monsters, and it'd do a mashup, and it would like write a synopsis right there for you.
Wow.
And it had like hundreds of permutations, but
It's like the plot wheel.
it almost was. It was like throwing a dart at a board and seeing what sticks.
That's cool.
And I swear to God, they can't be more complicated than that when they come up with the...
I'm sure they're not.
So I just thought of something too. I got another question for him. Talking about these great, actors that end up on sci-fi, like Dean Cain and that kind of thing. One of the great underrated actors of our time is Stephen Bauer. And you got Stephen Bauer. Stephen Bauer is in Who's Delsin.
Why don't you tell the audience who Stephen Bauer is and what he's done.
Stephen Bauer is one of the great character actors of our time. He's like Robert Loggia. He can do anything. This is a huge... I think he's actually Italian, but he can play anything. Most people remember him as Manny in Scarface, who was the big Cuban thug who fell in love with Scarface's sister, and Scarface shot him. So he plays all nationalities. The greatest thing he ever did, and I can't believe he didn't win anything for it, he was in a film called The Beast of War, about a Soviet tank crew that got lost in Afghanistan, and he played the head of the Mujahideen rebels that were chasing the tank.
Interesting.
And he did all of his lines phonetically. He's in subtitles throughout the whole movie. This guy he's just unbelievable. And I think people are always going to remember him as Manny. I think he even came back and did Manny's voice in the video game that they made a couple of years ago. But great, underrated actor. And he's in Who's Delsin. How the heck did you get
Emilio? Emilio did a film called Joshua Tree, which he produced. I think he directed it and starred, and it had Emilio. It had also had Michael Madsen in it. It had the guy I don't know his name, but Big Pussy from Sopranos. So then Bauer was in that, and so
he plays a lot of thugs.
Yeah, and so following that film, they were in another. They kind of met through that film because Emilio cast him, and then they were doing another production together. And so Emilio said, "Hey, I'm already on set with him. We're gonna have the lights. Why don't we just? I can light the scene, send me the script, and I'll get him to do it." And he agreed to do it. And
That's awesome.
Everybody we have in it kind of occurred like that. We got the producer, Greg Hale, who did Blair Witch, producer. We got him through Tom Garrett over at UT. I was at a talk that Greg Hale did over at UT, and I emailed Tom. I was like, "Can you give me his contact? We'd love to get him in it because we're doing a mockumentary." So we figured at some point someone's going to say, "You're just ripping off Blair Witch." We thought, look, if we get the producer of Blair Witch,
we get interviewed, right?
It's almost like him saying, "It's okay." So we sent him the script, and he's like, "Yeah, let's do it. I'm going to be in Orlando for Thanksgiving." So we drove out there and did it. So everybody we have, Lloyd Kaufman, same thing, do a contact. Somebody's like, "I got Lloyd Kaufman's contact." So we emailed his assistant, got him. And then Joe Ganiscalco, who's in Sopranos.
Mm-hmm.
Also, he was down here for Cigar Festival, and I interviewed him for a magazine that said he's in town. Interview him, and so after the interview, I said, "Hey, can we film you while you're in town this weekend for this film?" He said, "Sure, give me a script." So it all was just kind of falling
Well, and and it's interesting, and that's a big lesson that I think a lot of filmmakers should really pay heed to. Is it goes back to the old adage: it's not what you know, it's who you know.
Yeah,
and it's about establishing relationships with these people.
Yeah.
Don't be a dick. That's like a big lesson in filmmaking. Just don't be an ass. Be a good person. Be a nice guy. And build relationships with the people that you work with, because you never know where down the road you're going to need them. They know somebody that knows somebody, and if you're wanting to make movies and wanting to get actors and talented cinematographers and everything else, you have to work with people. So,
and it also, I think, a lesson to be careful what projects you get attached to.
Yeah.
Because if they're like, well, let me look you up, and they only see that you're attached to good projects,
right?
Like, yeah, we know it's gonna be good. But if they look you up and you have 1 billion credits, and out of the billion, 500 million are just awful stuff, and that always helped us. And they say, well, send us your clip, and they look us up, and they do research on it. They're always going to try to do research, and they think, all right, well, they only do projects that have some credibility, so we'll do something. Because there's no way you're getting these guys Hollywood quote on an independent.
No. Yeah. You're not going to call up their agent at CAA and say, put an offer in, and here's the offer, will you do our movie? It's not going to happen. Who are you? How much money you have to spend? The agent wants to make money, so they're going to get as high a quote as they can. And you have to have a personal relationship or get through somebody to do it, basically.
I had a friend who actually got scolded by F. Murray Abraham because of what you just said.
Really?
Yeah, he put in an offer, put in a bid to his agent, and said, "Will F. Murray Abraham do this film?" And F. Murray Abraham called him up personally to scold him. And said, why did you think I would do this movie? I'm not joking. This happened. It's a buddy of Derek's, actually, I think. Yeah, that's what F. Murray Abraham called him up to scold him. And he was like, "I'm sorry, Mr. Abraham." Yeah.
So he called him up to specifically say,
what makes you think I would do this movie?
Basically, this is a horrible movie. Why on earth would you pick me to be in it?
Right, exactly. He called him up to scold him. Don't do that again. Click.
Very, very interesting. I wanted to go back to something you said real quick. And so you mentioned the movie with Stephen Bauer, where it's actually, if I'm getting this correctly, the heroes in the film are the Mujahideen, who are basically what we're considering the terrorists nowadays. So Hollywood made a movie with the Afghanistan.
It was made in 1989. It was shot in Israel. They bought 2 surplus T-54s that had been captured in the 6-Day War.
T-54s are Russian tanks.
Yes,
That
2
were
Russian
being
tanks.
used during World War II.
Yeah.
Well, no, that's a T-34.
I'm sorry.
T-54 was cutting edge when they were being used by the Egyptians against the Israelis, but when the Israelis captured them, they realized it's a good tank, so they pressed it into service. So Dale Dye, who's he was a retired soldier and mercenary. You see him in all kinds of movies. If you see a war movie and there's a tall guy with white hair and a big white mustache, he's Dale Dye. You can't miss him. He's the technical advisor on the film. He bought 2 T-54s from the Israelis and named them Boris and Natasha, and then shot this movie about a Soviet tank crew in Afghanistan.
Beast of War.
Beast of War. It's got George Dunza. It's got a very young Stephen Baldwin in it. He plays the loader.
Huh.
And Don Harvey, who's another great underrated actor, you still see him show up. He was big in action films in the 80s, like Die Hard 2 and things like that. And nowadays he plays chief of police in Criminal Minds and that. But it's an Beast of War.
So I don't know if it's on Netflix, but it might be. And,
incredible. I'll loan it to you.
Yeah, well, all right. And
it's
so
incredible.
something for our audience today that they may not have heard of to check out. In addition to Who Was Delsin?
Bizarre trivia.
Okay, let's have.
You can tell the Blair Witch guy. I don't know if he knows or not. For over 20 years, Mad Max, the original film, held the record for lowest production costs to highest revenue, and that record was held for over 20 years until Blair Witch Project took it away.
He probably
that movie.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, that and obviously now the Paranormal Activity series. The Paranormal Activity film series is actually now the most profitable film series in film history.
No kidding.
Because of the expense to profit ratio, basically. Not based on the amount. It's not going to make as much money as Titanic, but or Avatar. But it doesn't matter because the cost is really low.
Yeah. So one of the things we feel lucky about with Who's Delsin when we started at found footage movies, there weren't any out, and now it's like the rage.
Yeah.
So we're hoping, and we didn't start it thinking, well, found footage, that's whatever we're doing. At the time, like I said, we started years ago. So we're hoping we can maybe just catch the wave.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So what else do you have going on? You have a new book?
I got a book coming out. Yeah, I do need to mention that. It's called The Dark Side of Sunshine, and it's about a century of infamous characters in Tampa, in the city of Tampa.
Ooh.
So it's I believe 11 stories of some of those infamous people and events in the history of Tampa, starting with in the early 1900s. A lot of people might not know. Actually, most people probably don't know this. One of the first serial killers in U.S. history was in Ybor City.
Interesting.
Whenever there's bad news in the news, the very next thing that follows is the word Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, it's like man eats baby, Florida. Child stabs mother, Florida. So why does it not surprise the first serial killer in U.S. history?
The reason marijuana, one of the main reasons marijuana is illegal is because of the city of Tampa, because of an axe murderer who it was lied to the Senate that said he killed his family because he was high. He was not. He actually had dementia.
Is he the one they show in Reefer Madness with
Yes.
the axe?
Yeah. So it's not just about killers. It's everything from, like I said, some of the early serial killer in Tampa. It goes through some of the revolutionaries who used to visit Tampa. Fidel Castro actually came to Tampa to fundraise. So there were guns run through Tampa to Cuba. One of the stories about how the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office actually had a deal with Fidel Castro where they would turn a blind eye to the guns being run out of Tampa if in exchange he handed them Santo Trafficante. So it's their story about that after how Castro took power, they got a call back here in Tampa, like, okay, we got Trafficante in prison, we're sending him to Miami, go pick him up. Then it details some of the gangsters here in Tampa, and then finishes off with how Tampa became the strip club capital of the world, starting with Bobby Rodriguez, who founded the first go-go bars, who was a man that most people in Tampa have never heard of. He was actually the man who got Joe Redner his start in the strip club.
Wow.
And then Joe Redner then became the first person to do nude clubs. So it's, when I say infamous, it's not just murders. You know, some of these people were not criminals, but they're just people who are part of infamous events here in Tampa. So called The Dark Side of Sunshine. It comes out August 30th. You can visit my publisher's website called I Know Publishing, which is AIGNOS Publishing.com. AIGNOS Publishing.com. So yeah, I know in the spellings doesn't, it's not really phonetical, but
A couple of more cases, and you have enough for a series right there. At least
I'm
one
hoping to
season.
do a follow-up book on political scandals in Tampa, but that's deadline because I got a few other projects I got to finish first. But August 30th it comes out. They'll probably, that's online. It'll come out around the second week of September is when there'll be books circulating throughout the city to purchase. But if you visit their website, you'll be able to find out the information of where to get the books and how to get them.
Great.
Wow.
Yeah, very good, very good.
I'll let me get a copy of that.
Good. So as the podcast is moving along here, just checking the time, make sure we got enough time. We have, I don't know, just another little segment where we just chat about any new films or anything particular that's come out that anybody wants to discuss.
I saw this movie.
Superhero has
This
something.
kicks ass.
Yes, what is this?
It's called Black Dog.
Not a new film. It doesn't look like.
No, but
considering
it's
that's,
great.
No, but it's also topical because what's his name?
Move it to the top of your queue. This movie is about a black dog that lives in the back of a 18-wheeler with toilets and AK-47s. And
Is that Swayze
and
and
Patrick Swayze.
And Randy Travis, who
Patrick
just
Swayze, I
arrested
say,
for a DUI.
yeah. Well, not only that, he's good at that because he shoots at cops and drives around in here too.
Randy Travis
it's-
does it?
Yeah, but Patrick Swayze drives the black dog around, and Meatloaf owns the truck and has the truck, and for some reason he wants to steal the AK-47s are in the back, but he sends Patrick Swayze out on the road and then tries to steal them. So he chases, instead of just taking the guns,
Right.
he's inventive with it. He sends Patrick Swayze, and then he takes an 18-wheeler that's all red, because they call him Red in the movie, and he chases Patrick Swayze. And he quotes Bible verses while he's trying to run him off the road.
And what year is this film made?
That's
It looks-
a good
it
question.
looks fascinating.
That's
Just
where
the
we-
fact, all you really have to say is this movie has Randy Travis, Meatloaf, and Patrick Swayze in it, and I'll watch it.
And a
Doesn't matter
black
what-
dog.
It doesn't matter what.
And a
it is.
black and that's a curse too. That's the whole point. Is the black dog lives in the back.
98.
98, 19, but move it to the top of your queue because it was great.
Black Dog. And on the back here it does say, from the director of Passenger 57, which kind of relates back to last week, Tyler and I needlessly insulting Wesley Snipes. So again, we apologize for the second time to Wesley Snipes for our slights and our unintentional implications that even though he was indicted, and not just indicted, but convicted of tax evasion.
Did they let him out to make films?
I think he's out now. I think he's out now. But the story was last week I talked about how I have a friend in Switzerland whose job it was to drive Wesley Snipes all around Geneva, and he made stops at different banks right before his tax evasion sex. Yes.
Todd gets the craziest gigs.
No, it wasn't Todd.
It wasn't Todd?
It was a friend of Todd's that a friend of mine.
Wow.
Wow. Anyways,
okay.
Again, we've just slandered or libeled or whatever it is Wesley again. Sorry, Wesley. He's probably not going to see this anyway. So
Yeah, I heard he was going to play Black Panther. Remember the comic character Black Panther?
He's already Blade. He's already
he's already Blade. Who knows?
I don't know. They might.
You never
It's
know.
Yeah, well, they don't care about that anymore. It used to be canon. If you played one superhero, you couldn't be another
Right.
one. But
Chris-
since Ryan Reynolds broke that,
Chris Evans was Human Torch and Captain America.
but before him, Ryan Reynolds was Green Lantern and Deadpool. Ever since he broke that, they don't care anymore. They'll let you play 3 guys in a row. They
I
don't
think the
care.
world wants to forget how they butchered Deadpool.
Right. They get Hugh Dillon, me, and Michael Chiklis to play old superhero.
There you go.
Right.
There you go. What else you got here?
Well, while we're talking about superhero films, I saw Super with Rainn Wilson, and there's an interesting story about this. I'll get to. I may have been quasi-involved in this movie.
And you're not.
I don't know. I gotta add. Maybe somebody out there knows that's watching, and they can tell me. But this movie has all the hentai tentacle rape that you expect from a superhero movie. That's the guy, Rainn Wilson. He has this vision of hentai tentacle rape.
Why don't you explain to the audience what hentai tentacle rape is?
Hentai tentacle rape. In Japan, they're big into, tentacle rape. That's in all the porn and everything like that. There's tentacle rape. I don't know.
You don't Killer Eye. That's a scene in Killer Eye. We were up late one night. This was got to be 12 years ago. The movie Killer Eye came on. And it's about a giant eye and it got and it's raping women. And at this party, we're thinking, this is the worst movie ever made. I didn't know that other movies did that.
Yeah, it comes from Japan. The earliest example of it is a
Try to find one that
block
doesn't.
print from the 1500s. In Japan. That's how far back they're into tentacle rape.
That is bizarre.
Yeah, there's a chick doing it with an octopus, 1500s, in a woodblock
Super.
print. And
That's super that she's getting.
So he had it's super. So he has this vision of hentai
And I'm not
tentacle rape.
endorsing hentai tentacle rape.
And it tells him to go be a superhero and beat up Kevin Bacon, who stole his wife, because he's a drug dealer and she's into drugs, and so he becomes a superhero. It's kind of
Bacon in that?
yeah, he's the drug dealer. It's kind of bizarre, but
So the two films that Superhero is endorsing today are Black Dog, starring Patrick Swayze.
I got
and, Super with
you can't really see him, but Nathan Fillion is in it.
Nathan Fillion as well.
From Firefly. And I've met Fillion. He's a good guy, big guy too. He was sitting next to Adam West over at MegaCon a couple of years ago.
And it also says Liv Tyler on the front.
Yeah,
of the
yeah.
well,
And
so.
he's only in it for a couple of... Matter of fact, in the hentai tentacle rape scene, he's the one that shows up because he's like a childhood superhero. He's a Holy Avenger, which is kind of like Bible Man.
Right.
And he tells Rainn Wilson, get your act together and become a superhero and go kick Kevin Bacon's ass and get your wife back. But he carries the movie, and I liked him so much that I made an action figure of him. Believe it or not, he did such a good job in the film.
I haven't seen that movie, but I'm thinking it would have been even better if they just had Kevin Bacon play himself.
I was
go kick Kevin Bacon's ass.
I've got a friend. Her name's Amber Osborne, who's friends with Fillion.
Yeah.
And hopefully she can send this to him. She's been saying, "Oh yeah, I want to get it to her, so she can give it to Fillion." Fillion. Yeah, but he was great in the film. If you doesn't see it for any other reason, see it for him because he was great in the movie.
Well, good.
But anyways,
real quick,
bizarre story.
Tell you a bizarre story. We got to move on before we run out of time because we have one more guest to bring in here.
Oh,
We wanna
okay,
chat a
yeah.
little bit.
I think I was actually, like you see how things change hands and money changes hands and scripts change and everything changes. A few years ago, some guy contacted me on MySpace to show how many years ago it was,
Right.
and he got my phone number and called me, and they wanted to sign me on a real superhero film as a technical advisor that was being shot over here in Orlando, and it had Steve Carell in it.
Yeah, I remember you talking about
Yeah,
this.
and I said, well, sure, I'll be an advisor for you. I'll, drive over, and, they were going to pay me scale and everything like that, and I was like, and we talked back and forth and everything about what he would do and what he wouldn't do, and they told me what was going on with the story and everything, and then it just never materialized. It was about the same time that I think Carell made that movie where he was doing the spoof on Noah's Ark.
Right.
And I think he went off and did that. Then all of a sudden, a year or so later, this came out with Rainn Wilson. And you know how that kind of thing works.
Sure.
They were like, well, we had Stephen Carell, but now we don't. But we don't have. I know if you can get Carell, then you can get Rainn Wilson.
You never know how it all. Yeah.
Right. So I think this might have been the film
That
they were trying to sign me
technical
as a
advisor.
technical advisor. Money changes hands, and they shot in a different location and that kind of thing. If anybody knows the story behind that, let me know.
Somebody can fill us in and let us know.
Yeah.
Good. Well, moving on, we have another new segment we're going to do this week. Crappy movie of the week. Now, Black Dog and Super are not included in the crappy movie of the week. But we do have a writer, Brad Sibbersen, who's going to sit down and introduce himself real quick. And Superhero, if you would hand me that iPad that's on the table right there, we'll actually show a clip. So at some point, we may have our Conan O'Brien type set where I can have a monitor here and we can do tell the engineer to run the clip. But as of today, we do not have that. So instead, Brad Sibbersen Brad is a writer as well and does a lot of film writing about film.
I'm gonna hype my book right now. By the way, the 100 best movies ever made mostly suck on Amazon, Kindle, Nook, anything else you want. If you watched an old movie, couldn't figure out why it was supposed to be great, this will tell you that you're right. Make you feel good about yourself.
So
that's what we all like.
So the movie that's been chosen this week is called Birdemic, and it can be found on Netflix, instant on demand. So you could very easily find this film and watch it. Why don't you talk a little bit about? I'll let you hold that.
To be honest, I was not entirely prepared to discuss
Just
Birdemic.
tell us about what is Birdemic about, and why is it a crappy movie?
It is Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds done on a $4 budget with really the very same plot structure, out of sync sound the entire time. If you ever made a movie with your friends and thought, wow, I wish I could do something with this, if this can get on Netflix, your movie you made with your buddies throwing each other off the roof onto court tables can get on Netflix. The sound's out of sync, the acting is terrible, unprofessional on every technical level, and the CGI animation for the bird attack, well, we're going to have Tony show you that right now, is just
you're going to get to see a clip
unbelievable.
Here. Birdemic.
And every scene uses that same animation superimposed over the actors. It's just terrible beyond words. And there's a sequel in pre-production. That's my favorite part of the story.
Oh, wow. That is great.
So some high quality filmmaking going on here for.
Yeah, I found that on Netflix by accident while I was looking for. You probably super don't know this movie. Legend of Dinosaurs and Monster Birds. It's I was looking for that on Netflix and I found this. That is a good movie, by the way.
That's Bryce.
Yeah. So there you go. Birdemic on Netflix. Crappy movie of the week, as recommended by writer Brad Sibbersen.
Now is this a 45-minute segment or an hour segment? How do you?
Well, we still have a little bit of time. We can chat a little bit longer.
Because just talking about the found footage movies, I wanted to throw out, since Superhero is recommending some movies you might not have heard of, what I consider, I haven't seen yours yet, obviously, but what I consider the best found footage movie yet that I've seen is almost no one has seen, called the Wicksboro Incident. And it's basically two gentlemen who are making a documentary about this older fellow they met who swears up and down that he worked on secret projects during World War II. And this one actor basically carries the entire film. And it starts with a talking head shot of him speaking for a good 7 minutes. And it's intriguing. So, the fact that he can do that and make you watch the movie. And when it gets to its money shot, it'll blow you away. It's such a good movie. The Wicksboro Incident, you can probably get on Amazon for like $8. But if you like that style of film, I really, really, really highly recommend it.
Any particular found footage films that you're fond of, Tyler?
I like Troll Hunter. which is
Troll Hunter was really good.
unbelievably good. Where is it from?
It's
Norway?
Sweden or Norway. I'm sure the Swedes will be insulted if we say so, and the Norwegians will be insulted if we say the Swedes. But
it is a Nordic movie, but it's essentially like 3 college kids who start trailing this really interesting guy who lives in a trailer park, and he is a troll hunter, and they don't believe him. So they pay him to take him out into the woods to show them what it is he actually does.
yes,
And you're sitting there watching this movie thinking, this is kind of interesting, kind of quirky. And all of a sudden, as soon as you see the troll, it's like, holy shit, these people actually have a budget. I mean, it is some of the best special effects I've seen in an independent film. And it was only 3 guys who made the movie.
Was it like practical suit? Guy in a suit?
no, these are 50-foot trolls.
Trolls.
But I'm saying no CGI, or are we talking
All
CGI?
CGI.
Yeah.
But,
Well, no, these are big trolls.
These are big ass
Because
trolls.
I like it a lot better when someone puts on a suit and knocks things over.
Yeah.
No, this well, that's the troll hunter. He looks like Bob. He's got like a suit of armor he made out of like tin cans and garbage. It looks like Boba Fett's.
Yeah.
In fact, it's almost an exact replica of Boba Fett's armor from Star
And
Wars.
he gets knocked around by these 50-foot trolls.
Oh, the best scene in the movie. I don't want to ruin it for anybody, but the troll picks him up and just sort of does the thing like if you guys saw the Avengers where Hulk takes Loki and smashes him around.
Right.
Same thing happens to the troll hunter, and somehow he like drunkenly walks away from this. But it totally takes you by surprise. It is in subtitles, but
And it is
incredibly enjoyable.
You can play it instantly on demand.
Yeah, it's on Netflix as well.
It actually is really good. It wasn't too long ago that I watched it. Maybe just a couple of months ago when I had a Netflix day where I watched that and Tucker and Dale versus
So
Evil.
they're making a sequel.
yes,
I was reading about too. So.
Yeah, no, it was very, very
If
good.
they can make a sequel to Birdemic, then they can make a sequel to something else.
But yeah, Troll Hunter was really good. It's well done, and it does. You see the story, and it's 3 college kids trying to get an interview with this guy because they think what it is a bear attack, and they think that this guy has something to do with these bear attacks, basically. And what it turns out, and I guess we're kind of spoiler alert, but it turns out the trolls are real, and there is a government entity whose job it is to keep the troll attacks quiet.
How the hell do you hide a 50-foot troll?
Well, they hide in the woods apparently. So.
Same place Bigfoot hides.
Okay.
Oh yeah, good point.
So Troll Hunter and Birdemic as crappy movie. Troll Hunter is a good movie, though.
But Woodsboro Incident is another found footage movie. Again, it's carried by this one actor, and it's absolutely phenomenal. It's just a terrific film, totally worth seeing. It's short, I think 70 minutes. You can knock it out in an afternoon easily.
Very good, very good. Any other films or anything else anyone would like to discuss on the podcast
What have
today?
you seen recently, Paul?
Any
You know what? I watched American Reunion last night.
as did I. Not together. We were not together
Which
watching.
is the first movie I'd watched in months because my wife and I, about a few months ago, started watching Lost on Netflix. We'd never seen it, so we watched nothing for like the past 3 months. But Lost, I've not seen any movies recently. I mean, we got addicted to it. Sometimes we loved it, sometimes we didn't. But
Did you get through the whole series?
Yeah, we did.
Now, I watched the premiere of the pilot, or not the pilot, the first episode, and I remember, I can't remember what it was, but about 20 minutes in, something happened, and I thought to myself, they're dead, they're in hell, I'm not going to watch the rest of the show, I know how it ends, which turned out not to exactly be accurate, but that was my thought of it, and I never watched it since.
I'm guessing I don't need to give a spoiler alert at this point. If you haven't watched Lost at this point,
But I haven't. But go ahead, spoil it.
we kept trying to figure out the whole time, like, are they making this up as they go along? Because sometimes the show seems to get lost.
Now, I'm
like the title, but in the end, when they do the flashback all the way to the first episode, when they find the 2 bodies in the cave, I stood up and said, "You got to be effing kidding me!"
Now, I'm convinced.
Seriously?
I am convinced that I was.
Well, it's time
right.
to have Let's Superhero on
I was
this.
right.
Where's your countdown on here? Media near full.
Should see how many minutes.
53, 54.
We have about 2 minutes left here, so.
I was convinced though that Lost. I think that might have been their original idea or something similar to it, and then they panicked and
Everybody realized,
then they kept trying to play with it. And this got out of hand.
If I can say one last, we've been praising Emilio about who is Delsin. Ricky Wayne, unbelievable in the film for the role he plays. We used to turn off when Pete would yell "cut it." Sometimes he played the reporter. We would say, "Holy shit, that was an amazing performance." So I just got to give Ricky his props.
Actually, he's playing a vacuum too, essentially. It's just him at his desk, talking into a camera, and it's some of the best, just almost like a monologue, or I don't think I call it soliloquy, but It was wonderful acting.
Yeah, he's
September 7th. We'll go theaters, Ybor City, Tampa. We'll be able to see who is Delsin. We'll all be there. And if anyone has any comments for us, info at sunscreenfilmfestival.com. Let us know. This is a very casual sort of podcast as well. As you can tell, half of us are barefoot. So, it's a casual kind of podcast. If you'd like us to dress up in suits and ties, we're not going to do that. Or
get some bikini girls just kind of stand around.
We might do that. So, but if you have any comments for us, I know we're about out of time here. We don't want to go on too long. We're running on almost an hour with the podcast here. But we do want to thank Paul Guzzo for coming out and chatting with us today. We hope that everybody's enjoyed the podcast. Everybody goes out and checks out the film. And sunscreenfilmfestival.com. At Twitter, we are Sunscreen FF. I am Tony Armour on Twitter. Tyler, what's your Twitter?
T. Martinolich. Brad?
I don't remember what my Twitter is.
It's
I do have
S.
one.
Nigel. No, Mr. Satanist, I'm sorry.
Mr. Satan.
Twitter.
Mr.
Paul,
Satan
you want to
is
give out
on
any
Twitter.
Facebook or Twitter?
I don't have a Twitter account, but I got to get one. Just the publisher again for my book, AIGNOS publishing.com. So check them out.
Sure, and like I said, sunscreenfilmfestival.com, info at sunscreenfilmfestival.com if you have any comments or anything. So thank you, everybody, for coming out today. We certainly appreciate it. Anything
And
else?
submissions start September 1st, so look out for an email blast that's going to be coming from us, but also you can check us out on withoutabox.com.
Thank you very much.